it helps. And then I also got better in sales as a result of stand-up by just like being human with them. Like, dude, like clients would find my stuff online and be like, I love this. And it would like this tension that was between us as like a client seller relationship just became like homies trying to help each other with business needs.
I'll be honest, I still don't fully believe you, but hey, we'll take your word for it.
That's some royalty-free shit, people. That's what we do.
Beyond Quota.
Awesome. We're back. I'm Pouyan from Scratchpad. We've got Corp.
From Corp.
And the mandatory pause that I always give after saying that.
Yeah.
To help the ego on that side. Take it in. Take it in. I'm so excited for Janesh to join us today.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm stuck on what to say because your shit's so funny. Like I was watching
Finally, some real comedy on this pod.
Yeah, I'm like I kind of want to just talk about that instead of anything related to sales. But listen, they're one and the same, maybe.
Comedy, tragedy, sales, sadness—it's all disgusting, horrible.
Dude, it's pretty much the same skill set. It's the same skill set, like with obviously certain things here and there. But yeah.
But I want to hear about this deterioration from how you become a Fulbright scholar and then just fuck it all up and end up in sales. You know, like
and stopping product along the way. It's like so many folks want to make the other journey is like, oh, I'm in sales and I want to like get to product, have a seat at the table.
He just wants it to hurt,
dude. I keep like every move. It feels like I like get the thing to know I can get it. And then I pull like the rug from under my parents. Cause it's like in college, I was a biochemistry major for 2 years. And then I was like, this shit's boring. And then I move over to econ and poli-sci. And I interned at Goldman Sachs and I got the return offer and just had zero desire to go back. And instead went to teach English in Turkey under the State Department. And the pay drop off was significant, to say the least. And my parents were just like, bro, what are you doing right now? And then I like got into these orgs and moved into sales and now doing comedy. I don't know, man. I think it's just about like having fun, right? Like knowing you can do it, but then chasing the thing you truly love and want to do.
Yeah, but I mean, you sold LinkedIn sales solutions. I mean, people need Sales Navigator. I think about all the sales teams you've enabled through that life-changing tool. Don't they get it?
They get it.
You show them Sales Nav and the power.
Yeah. You know what? I love Ross bringing the heat as a fucking Glassdoor alum. Because I think this
is... Oh, my God.
Thank you for calling me.
Oh, my God.
This is just
I have so much... Say it. I got a lot to say on my former employer. I got a lot to say about that shit. Fucking a small child with limited working English proficiency could have sold Glassdoor. I'm just going to say it. It ain't hard. It was my literal job.
Wait, Ross,
did you consider going into RevOps instead, Ross?
Yeah. RevOps was not a hot thing at the time. It was not even a real thing at the time. So no,
Ross,
CSMs were becoming hot right around that.
Wait, you went to B school, and now you do content full time, right?
No, I just wanted to hear your version of how it all went to shit. I got my own version too, but this is about you. This isn't about me.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I've known since I was 17 I wanted to do stand-up. Like that was my thing. But it was just a whole like immigrant story, right? You come to the US, you try to get stability, you want the resume, all of that. And kind of, do I wish I started stand-up earlier? Like, absolutely. But all the like life experiences and stuff I was able to do before gave me such a cushion when I took the leap and started doing stand-up and made me feel so much more comfortable. And also the other thing is, dude, like having worked a professional job, like so much of entertainment is the business side, right? Like, you know this, like being funny is 30, maybe 40% of it. But the rest of it is, can you be a professional? Can you reach out to people, be accountable for stuff? Can you show up?
No, it's true. And it's amazing the amount of like whatever companies, agencies that I'll work with. And like, wow, thank you for like getting this back on our deadline. I'm like, yeah, it was a deadline. Yeah, I was stressing about it, but we had a deadline. I have to get it done. Like, There's a choice.
Yeah.
Like, They're like, yeah, so many people just like aren't responding and they just like kind of let it go and we got to chase them. I'm like, okay, did not know that was even an option. Not that I would ever do that because, I'm going to turn my homework in on time. It may be shitty, but I'm going to turn it in on time. So it's true. I do think there's a lot behind the scenes that a lot of creators, comics, they don't appreciate or do.
Yeah.
And maybe that is from the professional side.
Yeah, I think so. And now also being in sales helps, man. Like just like constant rejection and having to go back. It's the same thing with stand-up. And so that's what I was saying, where like a lot of the skill sets align. It's kind of like you're selling an idea on stage. A lot of times people might not buy it. So you got to figure out how to get them to buy the idea you want them to consume so you can buy a Porsche 911,
You started in product and biz ops, and
Yep.
then you found your way into sales, and then you've stayed in sales.
Yeah.
That usually doesn't happen. And that's why it's interesting. I think it's almost the inverse that we've seen, is starting off in sales and then trying to find some way out of it, use it as a launching pad. So maybe talk to us about that a bit.
Yeah, dude. So I think a lot of people end up starting off in sales because they don't know exactly what they want to do, but they want to end up in like business, right? They just have this like idea of like, I'm going to go work at a company. Here are the jobs that are available. And so I don't know what to do. So I'll like figure out my way. And they end up in sales, but they don't fully understand the business. And I think that's what actually helped me a lot is like, because I had a bit more of a technical background, I was able to end up on the biz ops and product side. So I got to really understand like how a SaaS business is built and run. And I was so lucky with my timing more than anything else. I was like right place, right time, like 2015 LinkedIn. That's when biz ops at LinkedIn was like one of the hottest things in the Valley. Like I remember when Jeff Weiner came out, he's like, if I started my career today, it would be in biz ops and like all of this stuff around it. So we had
What is biz ops?
That's a great question. Ross, how do you feel about ops? Do you want to explain this?
No, I biz ops was also like was a super hot term, and now no one's talking about it anymore.
Yeah.
Now they're like, shit, biz wasn't strong enough. What's better than revenue's important? Whoa, rev ops. We call it rev ops. It's not biz ops anymore. Holy shit! They're just like trying to pick new words that sound more and more important. Soon they're gonna be like, it's gonna be like CEO ops. And people then they're gonna be like, yeah. So
that's so funny.
We need, Janesh, I think we need to do a separate session called Ross on Ops.
Yeah,
just breaking down the evolution of ops roles.
Yeah, I just want him to alienate every ops team in the Valley. But no, so biz ops is historically different, right? So what biz ops the question is trying to answer, or at least I'll tell you like the way it was structured at LinkedIn. Like there was sales biz ops, product biz ops, right? Again, lucky with my timing, I was fortunate enough to do both. Sales biz ops is asking the question of like, hey, we're at 1 billion revenue this year. How do we get to 5 billion in revenue in the next 5 years? Right? It's like, here's our solution. Let's reverse engineer. What are the levers to get there? Does that mean opening up new markets? Does that mean like trying to offer new products, etc.? Then product biz ops similarly is like, how do we get click-through rates at this or engagement at Y? So again, coming with the solution, reverse engineering, like how do we get there based on what levers we have today? So it requires you to basically get a really thorough understanding of how's this business run, what are the things that generate revenue, what are the things that generate engagement, and how do we pump those numbers up? In the words of Matthew McConaughey, like those are rookie numbers, right? We got to pump those numbers up. And so that's kind of what biz ops was
from
focused
where I'm
on.
sitting, a billion is not a rookie number. That's the
the
dream number.
No, I get that, man.
That's a good number.
Yeah. I heard you say that. I was like, yeah. The stars in the sky.
Yeah. Billion's a great number. Obviously, like that question, the answer you're asking at LinkedIn in 2008 was very different than in 2015, right? Which is very different from 2022, which is a whole different number. Like these were pie in the sky numbers for us back then that now like the company's just pumping out.
Yeah, they're doing it right.
Yeah, they're chilling. But no, it was understanding the business, but then the company started to grow bigger, right? So I got less responsibility later on. And then I also started doing stand-up. So I wanted more control over my schedule. And if I'm getting an email from a product manager at like 8 p.m. being like, hey, this thing, we got to figure it out. I have to respond to it. Whereas in sales, it's kind of like, I hit this number, you leave me alone. Like, that's what I got to do.
Later, nerds.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the first quarter was definitely rocky for me in sales, but once I figured out, it's like you can just use the business acumen and like really understand what a customer's needs are. It helps. And then I also got better in sales as a result of stand-up by just like being human with them. Like, dude, like clients would find my stuff online and be like, I love this. And it would like this tension that was between us as like a client seller relationship just became like homies trying to help each other with business needs.
You just nailed, I think, one of the most important parts that I've learned in sales is like that tension piece that exists, right? Where you're seen as the salesperson. And so it's like defense walls are up. I'm not going to share this information with you, but it's like, well, I got to qualify you. And you just said it in such a brilliantly simple way. Now, I don't know if the answer is for everyone to become a comedian and then like send their shit over to clients, but how else did you do that? Or how else would you advise others to do that? Is like remove that wall. It's like, hey, let's just chat. I'm here to help. Even though it's like, yeah, I do have a quota to hit. I'm trying to hit that, and you've got the money that I will help me get there.
Yeah, I think the wall is trust, right? That's what that wall is like. Hey, I don't trust you enough yet to do XYZ thing with you or share this information. So it comes down to like, how are you going to establish trust? And it goes back to like, be a human and also solve for their needs. Like, don't be so aggressive in like trying to close the deal immediately or get to this revenue. Like, I know some people who are like trying to share pricing in the first 10 minutes and it's like, yo, pump the brakes. Like, figure out what's like pissing them off day in, day out at work. Like, how are you going to solve the thing that's pissing them off? And how do you get them to just talk to you about their life? And it's literally that. Like, that wall is like, how do I establish trust? And it just comes down to like, be human, like be chill, talk to them the way you would talk to your friends.
No, I mean, that's true. That's like everyone's like, what's your advice? I'm like, literally just be fucking human. Be like authentic in your own, whatever your voice is. Now, the problem with that for some people is their authentic voice is terrible.
This is I'm trying to find the right words to say here because I'm like, yes, I'm so fired up by what you're saying. And I feel like in my experience, it's been so many salespeople need structure. They need to know how the call is going to go. They need a plan. And that's kind of what a deck does is like, it gives you, it's like that blanket to say, okay, well, I'll just get to these things. And what I've learned is some of the best calls are the ones you can't prepare for. And so how do you get yourself into a position where you can go into a conversation that just picks up and like, you're not ready for it, but like you still handle it. And I think the Rock in the River is a great example of that. Ross's Garden's another example of that. But like, how do you become great at just taking what's coming at you, processing it, and following up and then letting it evolve instead of saying, I need it to go down this specific path?
I think
and that, by the way, that is relevant for, and probably you've seen this in doing your own thing, but certainly as like being a founder of a company or starting anything. I think that skill set alone is what'll get you further than anything else.
I mean, dude, I think it's like it's at bats, right? At the sake of sounding so corny, it's like that Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours thing of just the more you do something, the more you get comfortable with it. I think that's one piece. I think the other piece is like just being resilient with it. And what that means, like, if you get rejected or you feel a rejection coming out, it's like, you got to brush it off. Like you do the Jordan shrug and you move on and you figure out, it's like, all right, how do I get them next quarter or next call, et cetera. So I think those two, like not accepting that defeat or like being like, all right, I got it down, but I get back up. Right. And being able to just reference all of these different times you did this, like, and I think for you as a founder, it's probably like you have a thesis, right? There's a reason you started Scratchpad and there's a reason you dedicated so much of your life to doing this. Cause you know, it's like gearing up to do it. Cause you had your company that got bought before this, right? Yeah. And so like you could have chilled, but you're an entrepreneur and you're like, I see an opportunity. I'm going to go after it, and chipping away. Like you started when like market conditions were sweet, and then COVID happens and then you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? And then you gear back up and things are like the hottest boom we've ever seen. And now everyone's getting their shit kicked in. But it's kind of like you have the reason you started this and the thing you believe in. And I think as long as that conviction doesn't
Yeah.
change, I think you keep going. Right. And that's what, like, I think it's so important to sell a product you believe in, because then you have that conviction of like, oh, there's a reason I'm doing this. So even if that person doesn't see my vision today, they're going to see it. Like that played a huge role for me when I was leaving LinkedIn, because I had been there for so long and there was so much happening in the market at that time. But I was like, what's the product where I have the most conviction, where I'm like, oh, I really see the benefit for this, which is how I ended up at Scribe. I was like, I love this thing and I believe in this thing. And I think even now with like market conditions being what they are and us being a pretty early stage company that a lot of people haven't heard of, it's kind of like, how do I convince you to sign a multi-year contract for something that's not proven?
I guess my perspective on it is I think passion is a little overrated on
Okay.
the product that you're solving, right? And because I think the knowing your why is really important. That piece I get. I mean, building anything is really hard. Whether that's your own brand, whether that's like a new career, whether that's a product, like going from 0 to 1 on anything. I just have so much respect for anyone that does that. Like you've done it, Ross has done it, a bunch of people have done it as well. But the pain that comes with that. And I think one thing that's helped me do this over the years is just knowing the why. And it's never been about any one product though, because I think being excited about the problem you're solving.
Right.
So it's a couple layers below the product. And both my co-founder and I experienced this because the first, I can't even call the thing a company, right? Like we built a product. It got nowhere. We spent 9 months of our lives on it, but we were serving SMBs.
Yep.
And after 9 months, and it was like a grueling sale, and like we thought we had a pretty elegant and pretty cool product, like people liked it, but we just kind of looked at each other one day. We're like, man, you enjoying this? and it was kind of this realization where like we don't really care.
Yeah.
We cared about it. We could make ourselves excited about it, but we didn't care about the fundamental problem we were solving. Like we didn't get fired up about the people we were solving it for.
Yeah.
And so I think having some sort of connection to the people that have this problem and that you are focused on solving that problem. Now, whatever the product might look like, because that evolves over time. Mm-hmm. But that's the one thing that like has helped me. And I think for a lot of folks I've talked to that are thinking about like what they do next and where they go, I always say, listen, are you like excited about like waking up every single day and thinking about the problem that those people have and the world that might exist if you do solve it for them in some way?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a fair way to characterize it.
I mean, so you were at LinkedIn for a long time.
Yeah. Is the question why?
I'm just going to let it sit.
No, those were good years to be at LinkedIn. Yeah. Those were good years to be at LinkedIn.
Most of them were great years. And here's the before like someone at LinkedIn sees this shit and be like, he wasn't grateful. I'm so grateful for the time that I'm so grateful for the time that I had there, but I watched the culture change like 3 different times. And for someone who's a little more type A and driven and also kind of wants a little more ownership, like it was no longer the place for someone like me for like, I would say the last 2 years of it. It became very much like very like admin task heavy. And that also, again, playing
it's complacency city.
Yeah.
Sorry. It is. It literally is. I'm sorry. It is. People ask me about LinkedIn, Glassdoor, same shit. Like you want a nice little comfortable little thing that you're doing. You get like, you got your little tasks. You get to go work out in the middle of the day if you want to. You get your little free lunch and all that stuff. Like, great. But how much like of an impact are you making? Like how much ownership of anything do you actually have? And like, if you don't get that, you're not feeling stimulated intellectually or pushed or growth, then you should leave. And that's what I tell everybody anyway. Like if you don't feel that, some people want that. I'm like, well, that's what you want to do. Like, it's a great place to go, honestly, pursue something on the side as well. Like Glassdoor helped me, allowed me, gave me space to like do corporate bro. And they were cool with it. And they knew like, if I did my shit, I could do corporate bro. And like, that was, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Did I think the product was like sick and like difficult to sell? No, not at all. But the situation was great for me.
Yeah.
And the people I were with were awesome. And it was fun. But eventually I got sick of it. It wasn't doing it for me anymore. So I left.
Yeah, and that's exactly kind of what happened. Like, listen, there was a lot of inertia. I almost left like 3 times before I actually ended up leaving. And then when I left, I actually left without a job. I just quit. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to clear my head. I'm going to figure it out. But I am so grateful for the opportunities it gave me. It also gave me a lot of like corporate stand-up gigs. Like I ended up doing so much corporate work for LinkedIn, which then ended up in like transpiring into corporate work for other companies. Dude, I had a client hire me to do their sales kickoff one time. That was really, I was like, this has to be a conflict of interest, right? Because I'm like literally selling software to you and doing your sales kickoff. Like, yeah, we'll just Venmo you like whatever your fee is and come do this. But all of that came as a result of being there. And I got to learn from really, really sharp people. But it's, to Ross's point, like there comes a point where you have to decide like what's important to you, right? If I'm like 35 or something and having 2 kids and I was like, oh, I just want to make 6 figures and spend time with my kids, all of the FANG companies are a perfect place to be.
How do you see comedy shaping up now? How have you seen it change? Has it affected you and the things that you say or do?
I mean, it's such a great question. And like, I don't know how to describe like this. It's like, it's not a loaded question, but like at all by any means, because I think it's so important to address, but there's like so much behind what you're asking. I think one is, yes, comedy is definitely more challenging now. But I think at the end of the day, as long as what you're saying is funny and can make people laugh, that's where the joke lies, dude. Because you can make fun of any subject. Anyone who tells you like, oh, you can't talk about this anymore, can't talk about that, it's like, that's not true. You're just not doing it in a way that's funny. You're just doing it in a way that's like attacking people and like edgy. Like that's what like, and especially a lot of like older comics, it's like, dude, just say you're old, you don't get it, move on. Like you're like a 60-year-old dude who just doesn't understand like this type of person. Just say, I don't understand them. It makes me uncomfortable, but here's my take. Like just say that. You don't need to like be like, let me take them down like this. Like end of the day, like I think we're being more accountable for people's feelings, right? You have the freedom to say whatever you want, but that doesn't mean it's freedom of consequence. That's what it is now, right? Is like people are actually getting consequence for their shit. I think that's important. I think you should. But I do think the internet has really messed us up because for like 20 years, you could anonymously just say whatever you want. I think if you want to say something, especially about someone, dude, say that shit with your chest. Say it. Like get rid of the anonymity. It's like, it's very much a come at me bro mentality, but it's like, if you're going to come at me, like come at me. Don't have like some cartoon profile picture. Like let me talk to you and who you are as a person. But I think in terms of like the PC-ness, like I think it's a challenge, right? Like how can you be funny without just saying wild shit? And here's the thing, man, I talk about race a lot in my set. I talk about political issues. Like I talked about the Supreme Court Roe v. Wade thing, but I spent so much time, and that joke's not even there yet. I uploaded it online, but it's like, I'm still crafting that, but it's like, talk about the important things. You just got to make them funny. Like there are ways to do it. There's a reason there's an art behind this. So I just think like the years where people could easily just like punch down at someone, like those are gone, and dude, good riddance. Good riddance. I do think like in general, people could just like chill out a bit and laugh at some stuff. Like there are some times where I'll tell a joke, especially in the Bay Area, and people be like, oh, and they'll like start gasping. It's like, hey, listen to what that joke's about. Because I think that's the other thing that gets lost is like people are so quick to react. They're not like listening to like what's he actually addressing? What's the point he's
that's
trying
the problem
to make?
for me.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Because people don't give a shit. That's the thing. They don't give a shit. Like if I went to one of these SKOs that I speak and I brought up and I said the word row,
yeah,
my mic would be cut before I could even get the V out.
Yep.
Like I know there's so many things I can't even touch. Like the amount of work that goes into them vetting me. I get cancel gigs because of the word bro, dude. Like in like the corporate world, like bro is a huge problem. And you take that away, all things equal, people don't give a shit most of the time.
Yep.
But like even that word. So that's my issue is what you're saying is they're not listening for the joke. They're not listening for they're not assuming best intent.
Yep.
B, being like, this is coming. What is the funny here? Like, what are we really making fun of?
Yeah.
Here? And C, they're making a choice before ever even getting to that point, getting to the context. And that's my issue.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is.
And I get that, man. Like, that's what, like, the corporate gigs, the way they get vetted and word choice. And like, I'll give you an example. I had a joke that got cut. This was one of my favorites where I did the LinkedIn SKO years ago. It was like 5,000 people, right? And I made it. I had a joke where I was like, this was one of my big dreams to perform in front of a crowd this size for this year. My other dream was to watch Donald Trump watching Black Panther. And it's like, it's not implying anything, right? Like, I'm letting your head go to like how he's going to react to that. But they were just like, you absolutely cannot say this because, like, there are some people who will support him and they'll feel a certain way. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not making a call on like how he would watch it. I'm just saying I want to see this unfold. And so exactly, like, things like that you can't talk about. I think what's tough with the word bro is the connotation. Right? Like you're not an exclusionary person. Like, I've seen so much of your content for years, dude. Like, and that's one thing I want to applaud. Cause like Pouyan, I'm sure you realize it, but people who don't like, who are watching, who may not realize, like, the shit Ross is doing, the level of consistency for years, day in, day out, that's really, really difficult. And doing it across mediums, doing it in a changing landscape, like, kudos to you, man. Tip of the hat.
Thanks, man.
But like, and you're not exclusionary, right? But the term bro, especially in the Valley, you look at places like Uber, you look at places like Zenefits and the culture they built, like, it ended up creating such toxic environment. And the word people would use was like bro. So bro as a word became like a conduit for this toxic environment, which sucks because, like, you got to build a brand on Corp Bro, which is like way funnier than like Corp Guy, right? Like,
oh my God, yeah. People are like, why don't you change to corporate dude? Like, my mom calls me that anyway because she can't remember what the fuck my name is. But like I'm like, this doesn't hit, mom. Like I mean, comic, words sound a certain way. There's a roll, there's a rhythm, there's a cadence, and like, you can't just like change it, like up and change it to corporate blank. Like, no, there's a point here, and the original point was to make fun of what everybody was getting pissed off about.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
like, that was the original point.
Yeah. You and I talked about this before. Like, this wasn't Ross. This was a separate entity. Like, this thing that was a reflection of what was happening in the market, in the world at that time.
Yes. Dom Mazzetti is not bro science, right? Like, Dom Mazzetti is a different guy, and Ross Pomerantz is a different guy than corporate bro, who's a caricature.
What's Dom doing these days?
Dom's still making content. It's pretty.
Is he still doing bro science?
Yeah, he is. It's pretty funny, but it does get repetitive.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Which goes back to like Ross, like, you've just been hitting for years, man. And it's awesome to see that.
Thanks, dude. Because I hate myself. I hate everything I do.
As any good humorist should. As any good humorist should just wake up every day being like, this is dog shit, but let's just put it out.
You got a big show coming up. You get one jam. You get one jam to play to get you pumped, ready to absolutely beast on these nerds. Crowd work. What are you listening to?
Oh man, this is actually a great question because I have a big show coming up. I'm hosting the San Francisco Punchline May 31st. So I'll be listening to I'm Going In by Lil Wayne, Drake, and Young Jeezy.
And I'ma go home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You get it.
Say you had a bad day. What are you listening to?
I'm listening to Everything I Am by Kanye West.
Oh, easy. He keeps coming up. Oh yeah.
What about, all right, let's let you drop some plugs, man. Where can people find you, your content, connect with you, whatever you want to hype.
I am
sell yourself.
Yeah, I am at Janesh Rahlan across all platforms. JANESH RAHLAN, Instagram, TikTok, website, everything. Hit me up for whatever. Come to my shows. Hit me up for whatever gigs you want. I've been doing a lot of Indian people's birthday parties lately. I think that's my demo now is just like I'm just kidding.
God, I need to get to one of those birthdays,
dude. I've been hired for 3 Indian birthday parties in like the last month, so we'll see how that goes. Also, if you want to, if you've got documentation needs for your company and you want to buy some software, hit up your boy for some Scribe software. All right, we're gonna document all your processes.
Yeah,
Scribehow.com.
It will be documented.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Sounds like you need a RevOps person. They love their processes. Sales ops person. They love that shit.
Dude.
Awesome, man. Thanks again for joining us. This was fantastic.
Beyond Quota.